A very popular event that we get every single year is coming back to Pokémon GO, and I'm of course talking about the Water Festival event. In this video, we are going to be diving, no pun intended, into the details for this event, and then I'll be sharing some of my thoughts because there are some things that are really cool about this year's Water Festival event, but there's also a couple of things that I know players are going to dislike. Alright, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokémon GO video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So one of the most popular events that we get every single year is without a doubt the Water Festival event. The reason for that is because this is an event that's dedicated specifically to Water type Pokémon. And for most people who do not live near a river or a lake or the ocean, this is a great opportunity for them to get a whole bunch of Pokémon that they typically do not see. And for a majority of people, they usually utilize this event in order to get a whole bunch of large Magikarps for their Fisherman medals, or maybe they want to get certain shinies of Water-type Pokemon. It's a really solid event every single year, and for the most part, they seem to be doing a lot of the right things when it comes to this year's version of the Water Festival event. However, I will say that there are a couple of things that I know are going to make players very disappointed, and we could talk about that later. But first, let's go over all the details for the Water Festival event, and then afterwards let me share what are the good things about this event as well as some of the bad. The Water Festival event is going to be happening July 15th at 10 o'clock a.m. until July 20th at 8 o'clock p.m. local time. The featured Pokemon are going to be curly form Tatsugiri, which is going to be in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, droopy form Tatsugiri, which is going to be in the Americas, and then stretchy form Tatsugiri, which is going to be in the Asia Pacific region. Now, these are going to be the wild encounters during this event, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of Water-type Pokemon. You're going to encounter Squirtle, Slowpoke, Krabby, Staryu, Magikarp, Marill, Barboach, Clamperl, Buizel, Finneon, and Wimpod, and then as uncommon spawns, you're going to see Lantern, Feebas, Palpitoad, as well as Tortuga. And then in 1-star raids, we're going to see Shelder, Ducklet, and one of the various forms of Tatsugiri depending on your region. And then of course there's going to be new avatar items and collection challenges themed around this event. Now also spawning in 3-star raids, this is something you should pay attention to, we're going to see Kingler, Gyarados, Lapras wearing a scarf, as well as Azumarill. Now what's key here is that Lapras wearing a scarf is going to be a unique Pokemon, and you do have the chance of getting a special background. I do think this is going to be one thing that could be worth your raid passes. It's going to be a very unique catch, and you can potentially get a shiny, which will definitely be a really cool find and a really cool addition to your collection. Now during this event, we're going to see the following event bonuses. Any rainy lure module that you use is going to last for 2 hours, and that totally makes sense considering that this is a water type themed event. And then any Pokemon you catch is going to give you increased candy if you catch it with a nice throw or better. And then you're going to have an increased chance to get shiny Staryu and shiny Tortuga. And then of course, like I mentioned, Lapras wearing a scarf caught from raids may have a seasonal special background. There's also going to be a paid timed research for $4.99 USD, and you're going to get yourself a rainy lure module, an event-themed avatar pose, as well as encounters with event-themed Pokemon, including Gyarados, Lapras wearing a scarf, and more. Now regarding whether or not this paid ticket is worth it, I will say that if you were planning to spend any money to get raid passes to raid for Lapras wearing a scarf, then yeah, it would be worth it, because you're going to be getting one anyway, and then you do get the avatar pose and a rainy lure module. But if you just feel like you're going to get more value out of purchasing raid passes, then that's probably the way you should go. These sort of paid research tickets are very seldom worth the money. Probably the only draw is going to be the avatar pose, considering that it is going to be a unique and exclusive cosmetic item, but aside from that, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be worth it for you, but that's something you can determine on your own. So let's start off with some of the good things about this event. First and foremost, there is a plethora of water-type Pokemon, some of these that we have not seen in a while. Of course, there are some of the usual suspects when it comes to water types, like Staryu and Magikarp. Those are always going to be a staple when it comes to the Water Festival event. But I do like the fact that there's going to be a Lapras with a special background, and it's a costume Lapras. It's definitely going to be a collector's item. If you're able to pick up a shiny version of this special Lapras, then I do think you're going to be the envy of all of your fellow players. Now, another thing about this event is, of course, Magikarp. I do think that for an event like this, where Magikarp are going to be abundant, that is something you should never ignore, because the Fisherman medal is one of those medals that are extremely difficult to get to Platinum, but you could utilize an event just like this one to get a whole bunch of Magikarps that are at least XL in size, and you'll be able to complete this medal in no time. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of positives with this event. I think there's plenty of other things that you could look forward to. Of course, the rating content is pretty good, and some of the spawns are going to be pretty good. And then of course the boosted shinies to some of the water types like Staryu and Tortuga, pretty cool stuff. Overall, I think this event is a good one, and I do think it's going to generate a lot of hype within the Pokemon Go player base. Now, when it comes to the missteps that Niantic is making when it comes to this event, it's basically around the new Pokemon, and I think because of this Pokemon being locked behind raid battles, that is going to rub players the wrong way. It's very similar to how it was with Paldea and Tauros. I think a lot of players were very frustrated that various forms of Paldea and Tauros were locked behind different regions, meaning that if you wanted every single one of those Tauroses, you needed to use remote raid passes and have friends in the specific regions where those Tauros are going to be spawning. It looks like it's going to be the same case this time around, and it's actually for a fan favorite Pokemon. So yeah, I think that's very disappointing. I really do not like that model for regional releases. I do understand that they need to do something when it comes to regionals, but I still feel like overall, forcing players to use remote raid passes just to get every single variant of one specific Pokemon is very much a pay-to-win mechanic. I mean, let's be real here. They're basically asking you to spend more money than you typically would in order to complete your Pokedex. This is not necessarily going to apply to everyone. There's going to be plenty of players who are just going to be one and done. They do not necessarily care about the regional variants, but I still feel like this is a bit of a shady move, especially because remote raid passes are definitely more expensive compared to regular raid passes, and I do feel like something like this is just basically a misstep. That's just my personal opinion. Now, I will say that if they were to ever nerf if they were to ever give us the original remote raid pass cost, the Pokecoin cost, then I would say that this is totally okay. But because remote raid passes are currently priced where they're basically double the cost of a regular premium raid pass, that means for you to get every single version of Tatsugiri is going to be incredibly expensive, and I just do not think it's worth it. Remote raid passes are always going to be better served for meta Pokemon as well as really important Mega Evolutions. Aside from that, I do not ever suggest using remote raid passes for Pokemon like Tatsugiri or even Pokemon like Paldea and Tauros. It's really not worth it. Eventually, these regional variants will make their way to your region, whether through a special event or some sort of promotion, so I do not think you should ever spend your remote raid passes. I know the temptation is definitely going to be there. You probably want every single version of this new Pokemon, Tatsugiri, but I do suggest you hold up. I do think it's worth maybe one free daily raid pass to get yourself your regional variant, but I do not think it's worth three remote raid passes in order to get all three or I think it's actually 4 variants. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, all in all, I will say that this event is still pretty good, aside from this one misstep. And even then, it's not necessarily a misstep. If you go about it casually, I think you'll still have a really good time and you'll completely ignore the fact that Tatsugiri has a regional variant. It's not like this Pokemon is going to be something you have to do a remote raid for. It's going to be available to everyone, just different versions of it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know some players will even be unhappy at the fact that Tatsugiri is a raid Pokemon to begin with, but considering it has so many different variants and having a Pokemon with various variants are always going to be considered regional, it totally makes sense that they would put it in raids. That's just my personal opinion, but I could be completely wrong there. But yeah, in any case, let me know your thoughts regarding this event. Are you excited for this year's Water Festival event? Do you feel like they're doing some really cool things with this event? Definitely share your thoughts, and yeah, let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that notification bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you can do that is going to be by joining my Patreon. If you decide to become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. That means for stuff like remote raids, friendship system, opening and sending gifts, different things like that. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you're always welcome to do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you'll have access to some exclusive content, and you'll be able to keep up with my daily life. And also, I opened up an Etsy store. If you want to get some really cool merch, specifically around K-pop and anime, and a lot of other things that I plan to upload, definitely go and check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description below. I'm trying to add new items every single day. There's going to be something for you, I almost guarantee it, or maybe there's going to be something for the K-pop fan in your life. Even if you do not care about K-pop, definitely go and check it out. And yeah, really would like your support. So yeah. In any case, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I will catch you all later.